Hi, it's Dave with Lonn Manufacturing, and I just saw another advertisement for a water hose nozzle that claims to boost your water pressure without an electric or gas pump. And this was like an AI video, but as a professional engineer licensed in the state of Indiana with experience in pipeline and fluid flow, my opinion is that kind of claim borders on false advertisement. And here's why. Water nozzles do not boost your pressure, but they can increase your velocity and therefore your power of the water coming out. But without an external power supply, you cannot boost pressure. Here's how it typically works. If you have a municipal water supply at your house or farm or factory, it comes from a water tower, or if it's a pump at your water station, it works the same way. The water tower creates pressure based on the height of the water above the ground and the weight of the water. Pressure is in PSI, and a typical residential system, it's about 70 PSI, right here. 70 PSI. Now, if your hose nozzle is closed off, if your hose is just closed and nothing's flowing, we call that a static situation. Static means nothing's moving. And if it's closed off, the water pressure right at the tip of your hose is also 70 PSI. When you open your hose and water starts flowing, say you're dumping water right into a bucket, the pressure is going to be a little bit lower because there's nothing pushing back to hold all that pressure from the water tower. You have moving water, which creates friction losses in your pipe. If there's not any water moving, there's no friction losses. But when there's friction losses, maybe your pressure decreases to 60 PSI at the tip. So it's a matter of potential energy from the height above ground and the mass of the water. Potential energy is a factor of mass and height. When the water is coming out of your nozzle tip, it's kinetic energy because it's moving, and that's a factor of mass and velocity. Now, if there were no friction losses, kinetic energy and potential energy would be perfectly equal. There's a little bit of friction losses. So to get the most kinetic energy out of your nozzle tip, you want the most mass flow rate and the highest velocity. A nozzle increases velocity. Here's how it does that. The opening, the inner diameter of your hose creates an orifice that's going to be larger than the opening right at your nozzle tip. It's a smaller cross-sectional area. So the same water flow rate in gallons per minute that goes through this opening has to also go through the smaller opening. And to do that, it has to increase the velocity. But you don't want to make the opening so small that it reduces flow. Imagine if the nozzle had a pin-size opening, that water would be spraying out super fast right at that tip, but you would get no power because you're restricting your flow. The best ideal is to have a smooth cone, like the inside of our water nozzles, to speed up that water, but still give you a lot of power because you got a lot of water coming out at the tip. That's the way Lonn's Water Savers work, but they do not boost water pressure.